It's mock draft Monday, and the New York Giants and the Las Vegas Raiders both find their QBs of the future in ESPN's Jordan Reid's way too early 2025 NFL mock draft. We're going to break the entire thing down coming up next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Damian Parson. You can find and follow me on X at DP_NFL. I'm a senior draft analyst, and thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Guys, we have Jordan Reid's way too early 2025 NFL mock draft. We're going to break the entire thing down. Raiders, Giants both find their new quarterbacks of the future. The Los Angeles Chargers go wide receiver again, and there's a big run at the back end of this mock draft on the defensive line. But guys, before we can get into all of that, we got to talk about the fact that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Guys, let's get into it. At number one, we have a big trade. The New York Giants trade up with the Carolina Panthers. So, guys, that's 3 years straight that the Carolina Panthers would have had the first overall pick. So, the New York Giants trade up with the Carolina Panthers to select Carson Beck, quarterback out of Georgia. With the second pick in the draft, the Washington Commanders select Michael Williams, edge rusher out of Georgia. With the third pick in the draft, the New England Patriots select Will Campbell, offensive tackle out of LSU. With the fourth pick in the draft, the Carolina Panthers select off of the trade James Pierce Jr., edge rusher out of Tennessee. At the fifth pick in the draft, the Las Vegas Raiders, they traded up with the Tennessee Titans with the projected trade. They select Shedeur Sanders, quarterback out of Colorado. With the sixth pick in the draft, the Denver Broncos select offensive tackle out of Texas, Kelvin Banks Jr. With the seventh pick in the draft, the Arizona Cardinals select Will Johnson, cornerback out of Michigan. With the eighth pick, the Minnesota Vikings select Mason Graham, defensive tackle out of Michigan. With the ninth pick, the New Orleans Saints select Abdul Carter, edge rusher out of Penn State. And with the 10th pick, with the Tennessee Titans moving down to with the trade with the Raiders, they select Luther Burden III, wide receiver out of Missouri. Let's go back up to number one, guys. And let's talk about this. Number one and number five to really get this thing kickstarted, right? The Giants. The Giants walked out of the 2024 NFL draft class without a quarterback. Right? They did not decide to take a Spencer Rattler or anybody that could threaten Daniel Jones. It's literally going to be a Daniel Jones situation from the looks of it, right? And Daniel Jones is coming off of torn ACL this season and everything. But with Carson Beck, accuracy, ball placement, arm talent, he's more mobile. He's a functional, in terms of functional mobility, right? He's not Mac Jones. He's not a deer in headlights in the backfield, right? He's not a guy that is a statue. He can move. He can get you 4, 5, even 6, 7 yards, sometimes 10. He had some timely. Think back to what we saw Brock Purdy in the playoffs, right? Timely scrambles. That's what you see from Carson Beck. He may not be the most twitchy or explosive athlete, but it's the timeliness of his scrambles and when he does decide to use his legs. So I think this will be a great fit, especially when you think about Malik Neighbors being there, Darius Slayton. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name right now. Wan'Dale Robinson and everything. Jalen Hyatt. Giving Carson Beck these type of explosive weapons could really bring back Brian Daboll's offense. But let's scroll down here. We're gonna come back. I'll give it to 4 and maybe in the second. But look at that number 5, right? Shedeur Sanders to the Antonio Pierce led Las Vegas Raiders. Why I like this fit. This is a team that's going to run the football. Okay. And even Jordan said it, Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers. You still have what's his name? Michael Mayer that you drafted in 2023 in the second round, right? And he even says in his blurb, I see some Geno Smith in this game, and I like that as well. And just looking at the Shedeur has he's accurate. He's got good arm talent. Main thing with him is just being consistent with his mechanics, footwork, not drifting and falling, fading away, like a fadeaway jump shot. He's got some of that tendencies and stuff from time to time, not taking sacks, pressure to sack percentage needs to go down in 2024, but he has everything to be a franchise quarterback. And he was behind a struggling, one of the worst offensive lines in all of college football, right? But I think he has every bit of the skill set and talent to complement a team that wants to run the football the way that the Las Vegas Raiders do. So the Giants and Raiders walk away inside the top 10 with two of the best quarterbacks, if not the two top quarterbacks, heading into the 2024 season and the 2025 NFL draft. But let's look at some other things here. Let's scroll back. I'm scrolling up here, looking at this list. Guys, the Carolina Panthers trading down and taking James Pierce Jr. This is going to be a discussion because if you remember, the Draft Network, we did a way too early mock that me and Keith broke down a couple weeks ago. I had the Panthers sticking at 1 and taking Jalen Milroe. And I know Panther fans were not happy about it. They thought I was trolling. Panther fans think that I am anti-Bryce. They think for whatever reason, because I do call a spade. And I'm going to always do that, right? Simple as that. Was I a big Will Levis fan coming out? No, because the issues that he had on tape at Kentucky, he still had on tape for the Tennessee Titans. But if he takes a step, I love it, right? I want you to make my scouting report incorrect and obsolete. When I look at Bryce Young, I do see a very limited quarterback that's going to need more weapons than most to succeed. Now, they got him more weapons. And watching the tape, Jonathan Mingo wasn't awful as a rookie. His numbers weren't good. Some of that's due to everything going on with Frank Reich, the offensive play calling situation, Thomas Brown, all the discombobulation and just disconjointedness that it was so disconjointed and confusing on what they were doing at times in Carolina last year. But then also Bryce wasn't accurate down the field. Bryce was not a good deep ball thrower. Truthfully, he wasn't a good deep ball thrower coming out of college when you really not just numbers wise, but looking at the film in terms of ball placement, accuracy, trust, being able to put the ball out there against tight man-to-man coverage, or not even just tight. Like Chad Johnson, who should be in the Hall of Fame as a receiver, in my opinion, said, listen, if I got this much space, if I have an inch or a step, that's open in the NFL. So you got to throw it. And I see a lot of times where Bryce is just very hesitant due to the lack of arm talent, right? It's one thing to throw outbreakers against zone and stuff. So yeah, like there's some compared to throwing it vertical down the field and pushing it, not lobbing it out there, not throwing the alley-oop. I'm talking pushing the ball. And that's where you see some of the issues, right? So I'm like, okay, Xavier Legette, Jonathan Mingo, Adam Thielen, Deontay Johnson, right? Jatavian Sanders, Tommy Tremble, Jonathan Brooks, Chuba Hubbard is a good running back. The interior offensive line is improved. Now you got the center position, but if Icky and Taylor Moton is a good starting right tackle, one of the more underrated and slept on guys, if the offensive line plays and gives him the protection that he needs, and he's still not getting the ball to the guys down the field and generating explosive plays when they're there, yeah, we're going to have a conversation. It's going to have to be we're going to have to talk about it, because at some point we can't just put it on the coaching staff. We can't just put it on the O-line and the receivers. Like, Bryce is a big boy, and he's got to be able to own and handle that criticism. And that's why I had him going first overall. But in this situation, guys, if the Carolina Panthers trade back and get James Pierce Jr., that's a great way. You got to Davion Clowney. That's an awesome way to replace a Brian Burns, because James Pierce is a dog and he gets after it. So yeah, I don't mind this pick, this trade one bit whatsoever. Another pick that I really liked, of course, Arizona Cardinals, man, at 7, getting Will Johnson, the cornerback out of Michigan. Now, that'll be what they took 2 last year. They took 2 in 2023. That'd be 5 cornerbacks in 3 drafts. Something's got to shake, guys. Something's got to work, right? If you take 5 cornerbacks, but this time, this is a guy where I could envision Will Johnson being the alpha, as people like to use, CB1 on the outside. Max Melton, probably either Max Melton or Elijah Jones, probably ends up being depends on how they develop, end up being the 2 on the outside. And then you look at a Garrett Williams, Keitrell Clark, and those guys, who's going to be the nickel. right? And then of course you go to dime sets, things like that. But I absolutely would love to see Jonathan Gannon with a guy. Listen, Will Johnson is an elite caliber corner. Patrick Surtain the second PS2. This is the second version of that, the second coming of that. And then one more I wanted to point out. Listen, Tennessee Titans getting Luther Burden. That is an absolute steal. I'm telling you now. Hear me. Luther Burden and T-Mac, Tatora McMillan from Arizona are going to be kind of the Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors discussion of the 2025 wide receiver core. I'm telling you right now, we're going to have those level of discussions. The big body route runner, contested catch, great catch radius, all that type of stuff, leaping ability versus the dynamic run after catch dynamo. We're going to have that discussion. Tatora McMillan, Luther Burden is this year's Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors. But guys, we got more to come. Los Angeles Chargers going with a receiver yet again in the first round, 3 straight years. We're going to talk about that and more coming up next. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Guys, right now is winner take all time in the NBA and NHL. And FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. So with any winning $5 bet as a new customer, you get $150 back in bonus bets. Okay, that's $150 to bet on everything from spreads to money lines, player props, and so much more. So my question is, why would you want to miss out on this type of deal? All right, but how can you not miss out on this deal? I'll tell you. You just need to visit FanDuel.com/locked-on and make every playoff shot count. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on and make every single playoff shot count. Because guys, with FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Let's continue. Picks 11 through 20. The 11th pick in this 2025 way too early mock from Jordan Reid. The Seattle Seahawks select Travis Hunter, cornerback out of Colorado. At pick 12, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Quinn Ewers, quarterback out of Texas. At pick 13, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Benjamin Morrison, cornerback out of Notre Dame. At pick 14, the Indianapolis Colts select Malachi Starks, safety out of Georgia. At pick 15, the Chicago Bears select Patrick Payton, edge rusher out of Florida State. At pick 16, the Los Angeles Chargers select Tatora McMillan, wide receiver out of Arizona. At pick 17, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Denzel Burke, cornerback out of Ohio State. At pick 18, the Cleveland Browns select Emory Jones Jr., offensive tackle out of LSU. At pick 19, the Los Angeles Rams select Deion Walker, defensive tackle out of Kentucky. At pick 20, the Atlanta Falcons select Nick Scorton, edge rusher out of Texas A&M. Let's go right. I talked about it in transition. The Los Angeles Chargers, right? Back-to-back wide receivers. And in this past draft, the 2024 NFL draft, they select Ladd McConkey at the top of the second round, right? After taking Joe Alt in the first. But the year before, 2023, they select Quentin Johnston. Remember, they drafted 2 wide receivers in the 7th round, Cornelius Johnson, Brendan Rice, and everything like that. And you have Josh Palmer. So now drafting Tatora McMillan, wide receiver out of Arizona, 6'5", outstanding vertical, big body receiver. To me, this is what Tatora McMillan is if you add twitch and explosiveness to Drake London. This leaping ability, the short area quickness, the long stride and open field, but his ability to rise at the catch point, he's got his high, some of his practice tape that I've seen. Oh my God, one-on-one red zone reps, all that stuff, guys. It's incredible. So giving Justin Herbert this type of weapon, and so then it's for one, it's fun. It's fun to think about. But 2, what does it say for Quentin Johnston? Because if Quentin Johnston comes out of the 2024 NFL season as a disappointment, right? As a top 25 pick, and they go wide receiver again, that means your number is you're the bell's ringing. Hey, this is a problem. Because if they feel like they have to upgrade the receiver position again, because you did now, could they still upgrade the position Would I turn down Tor McMillan even if we get 1,200 yards from QJ? Absolutely not. Because then I could look at a situation of Justin Herbert throwing to Twin Towers, Quentin Johnson and Tor McMillan, and then having our boy Lad McConkey in the slot, where I think he's probably best suited to really thrive and to live and thrive, right? And really be such an impact player, giving them that two-way go and not having to deal with long arm corners on the outside that can disrupt them. Put him in the slot and let him cook as the slot machine, as the first down maker. I think that would be an outstanding fit for them, right? Now, that doesn't matter if QJ has 1,300 yards, but if he has 500 to 600 yards, that's a problem. Where Tor McMillan is going to be drafted, and everyone's going to look at him immediately as wide receiver 1. So that was an interesting, interesting pick for me inside this 11 through 20 situation. But just kind of going back up right up here, 12. Well, first let me go to 11. The Seattle Seahawks selecting Travis Hunter, cornerback out of Colorado. You're talking about another guy, like, again, putting someone on notice. For me, I think this is a little different because, and I see the blurb, reading the blurb from him. He says the Seahawks already have 2 building blocks at corner in Tariq Woolen and Devin Witherspoon, but adding Hunter as an interchangeable defensive back will give them options, right? Listen, and he would fit what they've done traditionally. Now, Mike McDonald has played more man than zone, if I remember correctly. So that's going to be a little interesting. I think he's versatile as a defensive coordinator. So if they stick to their kind of zone coverage, that's when I see a situation where you go in the nickel and you got Travis Hunter and Tariq Woolen as your cover 3 zone corners, keeping everything underneath, and then you put Devin Witherspoon in the nickel. For one, Devin Witherspoon is he's a great run support and run defender. He can blitz. He's going to tackle. He's very physical. All those good things. So again, that's why I was looking at. I was like, if they go 11th overall and they take Travis Hunter, does that mean you're just adding him to create such an outstanding trio of corners? Because that'll be 3 consecutive years at corner, right? Because they came off of Tariq Woolen's all-pro season and drafted Devin Witherspoon. Devin Witherspoon had an outstanding rookie season. That'll be 3 consecutive drafts, right? No. Sorry. 3 of the last 4. 3 of the last 4. I'm sorry. That where you spent, a first round pick, or 2 of the last 4 you spent a first round pick on a corner, but 3 of the last 4 that you drafted a corner. So it's like, okay, is Tariq Woolen having a down year? Is he not playing well? Why would they go Travis Hunter here when I think that quarterback should be kind of on their radar as well if Geno Smith and this team does not get back to the playoffs with expectations mounting, right? So, but then you're talking about expectations mounting, quarterbacks. Quinn Ewers, pick 12. The Pittsburgh Steelers saying, yeah, we traded for both Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. And then we go and get Quinn Ewers in the 2025 NFL draft, top 15 pick. And this is going to be interesting, guys, because a lot of people watching Adonai, watching Xavier Worthy tape this year, they beat up on Quinn Ewers a little bit this past draft cycle, saying that he wasn't good, saying that he wasn't accurate, that he left a lot of plays on the field. And I would say, yeah, he did leave a lot of plays on the field, right? So now this is a big year for him to be able to step up and everything. And definitely he did not help himself. He was not going round 1. That's why he went back to school. And Jordan even says in his blurb here that scouts had a day 3 grade on the Ewers for the 2024 class before he returned to school. So the potential is there, as he states. But yeah, Ewers has to be consistent. He has to go out there and ball, because now you're in the SEC, big lights, big bright lights. People have the video game out now. College football is going to probably be as hot as ever, and the NFL draft is going to be even hotter with the NFL, with this NCAA 2025 game releasing in about 2 months, right? So yes, like in my opinion, Quinn Ewers could work himself in the first round. Top 15 is high, and for the Steelers, what? I think this, and also I think what you think about it from a Steelers perspective, you say, okay, are we getting another Kenny Pickett where arm talent, everything is just tapped? And if that's the case, guys, that's a little tough for me. That is very, very tough for me to get down with overall. And I want to go right here to pick 18. The Cleveland Browns selected Emory Jones, tackle out of LSU. This is going to be interesting. Simply because They do need tackle. I just did my NFL evaluation for the Cleveland Browns. They absolutely need tackle. They need a left tackle. Emory Jones is a right tackle. Jack Conklin's coming off, I think, a knee injury. DeJuan Jones coming off a knee injury. Jedrick Wills is injured in the final year of his contract. So I'm looking at left tackle like that's a high priority. That's a primary need. But I don't think Emory Jones would be the move here because he's more of a right tackle. He's got to show me that he could play left tackle. I think he's athletic enough to stay at right tackle. I don't know about making him flip to the left side, especially in the division that they're in with the type of pass rushers and defensive coordinators and everything like that. So this was an interesting pick overall in itself for me. But again, I like the player, definitely fits a need. But guys, listen, we are about to talk about some of these defensive linemen that are about to fly off the board in this next segment to close out Jordan Reid from ESPN's Way Too Early 2025 NFL Mock Draft. That and more coming up next. Guys, you don't have to worry when it comes on to buying tickets for your next big NFL game, right? We know how frustrating and stressful it is using some of those other websites, but test out Game Time. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets. Guys, the NFL schedule release was just last week, and you know the same way I know there's some big high-profile games we all want to attend. One of my favorite games to kick off the season is on September 15th, Sunday Night Football. The Chicago Bears with Caleb Williams, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and Rome Odunze go into Houston to face CJ Stroud, Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, and Tank Dell. Man, that's a big time game, high profile game, if you ask me. So all you guys need to do, you can get those tickets for as cheap as $161 on the Game Time app. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and everyday shot for being our everydayers. Guys, you know what we're about to do. Picks 21 through 32. Let's close this thing out. At pick 21, the New York Jets select Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver out of Ohio State. At pick 22, the Miami Dolphins select Colston Loveland, tight end out of Michigan. At pick 23, the Green Bay Packers select JT Tuimoloau, edge rusher out of Ohio State. At pick 24, the Houston Texans select Harold Perkins Jr., linebacker out of LSU. At pick 25, the Philadelphia Eagles select Danny Dennis Sutton, edge rusher from Penn State. At pick 26, the Dallas Cowboys select Evan Stewart, wide receiver out of Oregon. At pick 27, the Buffalo Bills go wide receiver Isaiah Bond out of Texas. At pick 28, the Cincinnati Bengals select Tyler Booker, guard from Alabama. At pick 29, the Detroit Lions select Ashton Gillette, edge rusher out of Louisville. At pick 30, the Baltimore Ravens select Landon Jackson, edge rusher out of Arkansas. At pick 31, the Kansas City Chiefs select Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle out of Michigan. And at pick 32, the San Francisco 49ers select Walter Nolan, defensive tackle out of Ole Miss. Guys, they're defense. If you don't know about the 2025 class already, I'm telling you now, it's defensive heavy. But let's start here. Let the first two picks I want to get into. The Jet in the AFC East. Jets taking Emeka Egbuka, and then the Dolphins taking Colston Loveland. For the Jets, I love this, right? Pairing Emeka Egbuka with his former teammate Garrett Wilson, and you have and then you could draft Malachi Corley, right? So now you don't get a lot of size, and you know, Garrett Williams, well, you got Mike Williams on the 1-year deal, but Garrett Wilson is the guy that you would look at and expect to make the big plays at the catch point, be the catch radius extender, and everything like that, where you don't see a lot of that from Malachi is tough and physical, but he doesn't give you a lot in terms of like high pointing. Neither does Emeka right now. But you pair all three of these guys together, man, you got yourself a gadget kind of receiver in Malachi Moore that can do a lot of different things. You got yourself a route runner with great speed and open field. I've heard from some scouts that Emeka has hit 4.3 in training before. So yeah, and then you pair him with Garrett Wilson, man, and maybe you bring Mike Williams back as the veteran in the room and the big body guy himself. I love this fit, especially if Aaron Rodgers is still there and he's coming off of a better season for one healthy. But in 2024, if he plays well and he just missed the mark and you add Emeka Egbuka, Sign me up for that. At pick 22, man, I love this pick. This is a pick I think I made in our way too early mock over at the Draft Network. Colston Loveland, tight end one for the 2025 NFL draft class for me right now heading into the summer. Colston Loveland, tight end out of Michigan. Man, let me tell you something. I love this fit because again, at 6'5", this is a big body, really good speed threat in open field. A guy that can play all over the offensive formation, but also play at the catch point. Man, you talking about giving Tua more weapons? I love this because again, we saw back in January this year, guys, when they played the Chiefs in the wild card. What did Steve Spagnuolo tell his defensive backs to do? Get physical with those little guys, with Tyreek Hill, with Jalen Waddle. They're fast. They're not big. They're not strong. A Colston Loveland is going to back you off of man coverage because now you have to figure out, how do I deal with a guy this size, with this strength, with this speed and leaping ability and route running and hands. I love this fit. This one right here, I don't know about, guys. JT Tuimoloau from Ohio State edge rusher to Green Bay. Okay, you what? You just drafted Lucas Van Ness out of Iowa in 2023. So you telling me Lucas Van Ness isn't working? You got, you know what I mean? Like something, this defense has to become elite at some point. And I just don't know if this is the move. I might look at tackle. Jesus Christ. I don't know about corner. Yes, corner. But man, this one caught me off guard. I'm not gonna lie. I love the Evan Stewart one to the Dallas Cowboys, pairing him with CeeDee Lamb. I think that's a great fit. Isaiah Bond to Buffalo is great. But let's go back to the defensive side, guys. Landon Jackson to Baltimore. Kenneth Grant to defensive tackle to Kansas City. And then Walter Nolan. You talk about teams that are Super Bowl caliber teams just getting absolutely better in the trenches on the defensive side of the ball. I love this run. Landon Jackson is strong. He can get after the passer. I think he can reduce down inside and play some 3 tech and 4 eye at 6'7", 281. Okay. Like he, you know what I mean? Maybe he could be, if you don't play him full time on the edge, maybe he could be that Eric Armstead type, bulk up a little bit, be a DeForest Buckner type. Guys, I like what I've seen from him. Just kind of watching him throughout the process, you know, thinking that he was coming out for the 2024 draft. I can't wait. Listen, spoiler alert. The 2025 summer scouting on this podcast starts the beginning of June. Just to give you guys a heads up. But Kenneth Grant, you listen, if you go and check, like there's a play. I can't remember what game it was, but he at 300 plus pounds, I think he's like 305, 310. Like he's probably gonna test Jordan Davis-esque in terms of speed. He like and what the 40 that Jordan Davis ran is cool. This young man showed that on tape when he ran a running back down who bounced it outside. I think it was against Penn State. Nick Singleton's probably a 4'4", 4'3" athlete himself. Hawked him down the sideline. Guys, like this is a freak athlete at defensive tackle, and he's so disruptive. He's strong. He's physical. He knows how to use his hands to reduce surface hitting area and close gaps. I love that. And then Walter Nolan, a guy that's transferred from Texas A&M to Ole Miss. Listen, this is a guy that's going to make a lot of noise for this. The Ole Miss is going to have so many eyes on them this year with Jackson Dart, Trey Harris, Walter Nolan, my boy Ulysses Bentley. I think Ulysses Bentley the fourth, the running back over there, because Quinshawn's now in Ohio State. Listen, this stretch of defensive linemen, outstanding stretch of guys that they can make big time plays. I gotta get my eyes on Ashton Gillette, to be completely honest. But he says if you enjoyed watching Darius Robinson, you will love Ashton Gillette. So I'm gonna keep my eyes open on that one. Make sure there are no more. Danny Dennis Sutton. Stock up for him. I think he's going to be a guy in the edge class is going to be a big time riser, guys. I'm talking big time riser as we get closer and closer to the 2025 NFL draft, which is less than a year away. It's probably 11 months away, right? It's about 11 months away, okay? So we're a little ahead of the schedule, but again, June 1, me and Keith will be bringing back summer scouting, guys. So you already know what time it is, man. So thank y'all so much. That's our show. We got into the way too early 2025 NFL mock draft from ESPN's Jordan Reid. That's my brother. That's a guy I look at his family. Got nothing but love for JR. Great mock, brother. Appreciate you and love you, man. But guys, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and everyday shot for being our everydayers. Keith will be back on tomorrow's show. So guys, you already know. Come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.